Mike Huckabee has taken full advantage of his controversial Holocaust statement. Huckabee's media blitz included an interview with a sympathetic Sean Hannity on Fox.
I applaud what you are saying. We risk a modern-day Holocaust. That's a fact. Why is that controversial?
Overwhelmingly, the support from people who understand what I said and why I said it, it's been incredibly positive.
The leader of the GOP field joined Fox News as well. Donald Trump thinks Mike Huckabee's slam on the Iranian nuclear agreement is okay.
I'm okay with it. I think he's a very good guy, Huckabee, by the way. What Mike has done is he's hit a nerve, and he's made people think a little bit. If he says it nice and softly, maybe that's not the way it is.
Trump blasted Jeb Bush for chastising Huckabee's tone.
Some people are, saying, oh, the tone, and I saw Jeb Bush, who I think is also a nice person, but it's not about tone. I mean, they're chopping off Christians' heads in Syria and lots of other places, and we're worried about tone.
Trump is sticking by Huckabee, and it has nothing to do with Iran. It's the state of Republican politics. Fox News wants to keep the blustery rhetoric rolling. The network just set up new standards for their presidential forum. The requirement that participants reach at least 1% in national polling averages just got dropped. They're setting the bar, the new bar, lower so everyone can play ball. Carly Fiorina, George Pataki, and Senator Lindsey Graham face low poll numbers. They all were in jeopardy of being disqualified from the debate. We'd hate to, of course, miss anything they'd have to say. Joining us again tonight, Governor Howard Dean, former governor of Vermont and former presidential candidate. Also with us tonight, Mercedes Schlatt, Republican strategist and former spokesperson for President George W. Bush. All right, Mercedes, you're in the Huckabee camp, okay? Let's just play with us a little bit. You're in the Huckabee camp. Good thing, bad thing. What about it?
Well, if I were part of being his communications director, I probably would have said, not the right use of words here. But I think that these candidates, to a certain extent, are trying to out-Trump Trump. So it is about coming up with these very, I would say, almost provocative one-liners that grabs the media's attention. They run with it, and it would, it could energize the voters. So I think, to a certain extent, it was very interesting to see Donald Trump's response by saying, look, he's a good guy, and he's hitting a nerve with this. And it was Huckabee's way of basically saying, this Iran deal is bad, it's bad for the Jews, and really coming out with a very strong statement. Well,
is it trying to out-Trump Trump, or is this what Huckabee really believes in his heart? And he's doubling and tripling down on this. I mean, he does not have the headlines that Trump has had, though.
Right. But I think, knowing Governor Huckabee, he is, he's very passionate about this issue. And he really believes that the ones that are going to be negatively affected by this Iranian deal is clearly Israel and the Jews. And I mean, Secretary Kerry came out a few days ago basically saying, if this deal doesn't pass through, we're going to blame the Jews. Well, I think Governor Huckabee is standing up for the Jews in that sense, and basically saying this is going to be a bad deal for Israel. It's a bad deal for America. And guess what? Iran has threatened to murder the Jews. I mean, they've said it. It's not like it's the first time this has come around. So he's trying to make a very strong statement with this.
Governor, are we seeing a politically savvy move by Trump? Not only did he back Mike Huckabee, he roped Jeb Bush into the whole thing and ripped him on by talking about tone. Well, I mean, does tone matter? I mean, to Republicans?
Tone matters. Let me just defend John Kerry for a moment. I'm reasonably sure he did not say that they were planning on blaming the Jews if the agreement didn't pass. I'd like to see the exact quote.
Okay, I'm going to send you the quote, Governor.
I would like that very much. So let's talk about what's going on here. Donald Trump has really been masterful. He is now leading the polls. He is capitalizing on the anger that exists in one wing of the Republican Party. And Mike Huckabee needs to out-Trump Trump in order to win. Somebody has to win Iowa. And if Mike Huckabee doesn't win Iowa, he is done. He's gone. He's out of the race. So it's all or nothing for Mike Huckabee. But he can't go after Trump because if he does, then that's the fight between the two of them, and they both lose. So it's fascinating to see what's going on. It is Republican politics, and right now, Jeb Bush has got to be laughing all the way to the bank, because in this sort of Donnybrook of craziness, that he looks pretty reasonable right now, and voters on both sides generally end up with the candidate they believe is most reasonably going to be elected president, and right now that certainly isn't Mike Huckabee or Donald Trump.
But the majority of Americans, Governor, are with Mike Huckabee on this policy. They may not have liked his method, but he is standing in the majority against this deal. What impact that has? Yeah,
that's interesting, Ed, because that poll was actually a reversal of the poll that came out last week that showed that most Americans did not believe that the Iranians would keep their word, but were in favor of the deal. So I think we need to see some more polling information like that. You know, I don't believe the Iranians are going to keep their word. And the question is, do we want war in the Middle East? I don't think we do. Is this deal going to make it more or less likely there's a war? I think that's the question everybody's trying to ask. But the to-do over Huckabee and Trump and Huckabee's language really is not about whether there's going to be a war, whether this deal is a good deal or a bad deal. It's about language that is intemperate, and that's never good for somebody who intends to be president of the United States.
Did Mike Huckabee get enough pushback from Republicans on this, Mercedes?
No, absolutely not. I think the only candidate that we saw basically saying, tone it down, these aren't the right words, was Governor Jeb Bush. I think you did see the other Republicans saying, yeah, I mean, Marco Rubio did say he was not going to comment on what other candidates are saying. But for the most part, I think there's this really this passion about the fact that this Iranian deal is a bad deal for America. The fact that you're going to be giving over $150 billion to a country that sponsors terrorism in the Middle East is very worrisome.
What do you make, Mercedes, of Fox changing the rules now so everybody can play on the debate stage? You
know, I am really thrilled about that. I think giving all these different candidates an opportunity to deliver their message in basically a format with what I find incredibly wonderful, very experienced journalists, I think it's just going to be helpful. It's going to allow the Republican primary voters to have a very fair assessment of all these different candidates, and I'm just thrilled that they're going to be giving them that opportunity.
Great to have both of you with us tonight. Howard Dean and Mercedes Schlapp. Thanks for being on the Ed Show.